Hello there everyone, Mr. Hall here, and today we are going to be working on learning how to multiply a whole number by a fraction and vice versa. How to multiply a fraction by a whole number, because really it's the exact same thing because of the commutative property of multiplication, okay? In fourth grade, multiplying a whole number by a fraction means that we are finding multiple groups of a fraction. This shows up in real life when we have to have several portions, maybe of a recipe where we're trying to make one batch, or we have a recipe for one batch and we want to make 4 batches of that. Or if we're measuring something and we have to repeat that measurement in order to make a proper cut on a piece of a 2x4. Or we have multiple sections of a unit, multiple different things. We're not just magically making our numbers larger. What we're doing is counting how many fraction-size pieces we will end up having in total, okay? So let's take a look at this. Let's say that I had 3, a whole number, times 2/5, okay? 3 times 2/5. So what I need to do is I need to take my 3 and I need to convert this over to a fraction. I cannot just multiply it as is. And converting it over to a fraction is extremely simple. 3 times 2/5 is the same thing as 3/1, 3 over 1 times 2/5, okay? All we're going to do is we're going to put it over 1 because anything divided by 1 is itself. So 3 divided by 1 is 3. So we have our whole number. We just put a 1 over it, or put it over a 1. With that, we're now able to just go ahead and do our multiplication. And it's fairly simple from here. We ask ourselves, what's 3 times 2? And 3 times 2 is 6. What is 1 times 5? 1 times 5 is 5. Note, our denominator does not change. And we end up with 6/5. It's as simple as that. From there, if we really wanted to, we can go ahead and convert this over. We can convert 6/5 over to a whole number or a mixed number. So we can convert that. We can say 6/5 is the same as 5/5 plus 1/5. I put my big 1 around my match and I go ahead and say, okay, I have 1 and 1/5. So 3 times 2/5 is the same as 1 and 1/5. Okay. Multiplying by a whole number by a fraction, super simple. Let's reverse that and see what that looks like. All right, this time we have 3/4 times 4. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to rewrite my problem. 3/4, and I'm going to take my whole number and I'm going to put it over 1. Now I go ahead and multiply. 3 times 4 is 12, and 4 times 1 is 4. Bring my denominator over, and I end up with 12/4. Again, if I go ahead and simplify that, I bring my 12/4 down, and I ask myself, how many 4s can I take out? I know for sure 1. That would leave me with 8, which means I can do another, which would leave me with 4, and I can do another, which would leave me with 4. 4 plus 4 plus 4 is 12, so I have nothing left. I put my 1 around all of these to see. We don't even need to do necessarily a 1 to make it simple. You could even just do a little box if you really wanted to. Just something to represent visually that those are your holes. We count. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3. So the answer is 3. 3/4 times 4 is the same as 3. Okay? So yeah, that is multiplying a whole number by a fraction. It is extremely simple overall. And like I said, it matters because it connects fractions to real world situations. Let's say I have students on track and each of those students runs 2/5 of a mile, or they have to run 2/5 of a mile, and they do that 3 times. Well, how far did they end up running? Or again, if we're working on a recipe and the recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup of milk, but I want to make enough for 4 batches, multiplication would help me with that. Let's say I'm doing a fitness challenge and every day I'm walking a half mile and I do that for 5 days. How far did I end up walking over that 5 days? Multiplying a whole number by a fraction helps us solve those problems. On top of that, it's going to help our students get set up for more complicated multiplication later by understanding these simple concepts of how to multiply. We're building the idea that multiplication is all about groups, not just making our number bigger, okay? The one major important thing when we are doing this is that we are not multiplying 4 times 4, okay? We have to make sure we put that 4, our whole number, over a 1 to represent that that is 4. We're not going to change our denominator at all. It stays the exact same throughout the process. Again, that is basically it, okay? So, yeah, multiplying a whole number by a fraction and vice versa. There we go. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Have a good one.